I will see whether there are any other final urging questions. I don't see. So maybe I give the panelists 1 minute of key conclusions and maybe a reaction to the last two questions, and maybe a take-home message in one sentence. What would you like? Also having Tom here, but also having a lot of colleagues here in the ACP world, what would you like to have as a keynote message from your different interventions?
Maybe as a key, the one that I opened with, make sure that, well, everything is framework at the end, whether it is framework in order to make sure that digitalization can be taken on board by young farmers, whether it's framework that young farmers are attracted to stay in rural areas, and whether it is framework that enables young people in rural areas to create one voice which is a lot stronger than 20 million different voices in vocalizing their needs and their challenges in all areas of expertise that they want to address the institutions in their own country and as global as possible as well.
I think we have a political opportunity now to put agriculture and the food sector back at the centre of policy. It's quite amazing that for many African countries, that for which agriculture represents still the largest part of the economy, that has not been reflected in policy prioritization by politicians. And there is a moment now where Europe, talking to Africa, needs to hammer that point home and take policy decisions on foot of that. And I think the opportunity of making sure that that point is made, but that it's supplemented then by giving the agriculture and food sector an appropriate level of importance in the African-Europe sustainable investment and for Alliance for Sustainable Investment Jobs. That's an opportunity which all of us around this table should work towards.
Iman?
Very much in line. I think there are wonderful opportunities, digitization, all sorts of other kinds of knowledge. It's there. It can easily be developed and taken up. The question, but you need some policy to make sure that this is going to get implemented. And I think it's primarily a policy issue.
Just to reiterate what Iman and Tom have said, it's this shift away from rhetoric to actual action. So how do we facilitate this public sector enabled, private sector led transformation in Africa? Understanding the context of how agriculture is evolving in the different countries, but also creating the enabling environment for learning and also for trade. I think trade will be a strong catalyst for innovation within the countries and across the region.
I would like to come back to my original message, place matters, which align with Tom earlier said about the need for territorial approach. And now I'm going to open up a new Pandora box, talk about the word governance as well, which is as we do the territorial approach, what sort of governance we will need. That will be very important. How do we do multi-level governance from the side of African countries? What we see is most countries have pushed forward with administrative decentralization, some political decentralization, but very little fiscal decentralization. So there's very little financing for municipality, for cities leaders to provide what they are supposed to provide or what they can best provide to their people. And on the other hand, as we talk about cooperation between the EU and Africa, we see that certain aid agencies, for example, still have not the mandate to work directly with subnational entities as well. So there's also that gap of what can they do. And that is something that we should keep in mind, governance and place. Thank you.
Thank you, Tang. I think this point of the Pandora box of governance is important because of the sensitivities between rural and urban, even voting patterns. Who votes to whom in terms of agglomerations? Does the urban voter have more the ear of the government in central power compared to the rural dimension? So all this will have an impact also on the secondary cities and the financing of the secondary cities and the rural areas, something which we don't really much discuss in fora like this, but I think it's an important food for thought, which I'm sure that the task force members will look closely in the coming weeks. So thank you very much. I thank warmly the panelists and all the participants in this session. Sorry to enter into the coffee break, but we'll have a short coffee break of maybe 10 minutes, and we reconvene at around 11:50. So if you can be back sharply at 11:50 so that we continue with the last panel before the lunch. Thank you and good proceedings.